The training hall was silent, so silent that the breathing of 100 cadets echoed like thunder. The air smelled of sweat, steel, and fear. Rows of young soldiers stood straight in their gray uniforms, hands behind their backs, eyes forward. No one dared to speak. They had been trained to obey, but today something was different. The commander's boots hit the floor with a sharp rhythm as he walked to the center of the hall. His scarred face was expressionless, but his eyes were cold and heavy. Every cadet felt his gaze like a weight pressing on their chest. Then he stopped. His voice cut through the silence like a blade. "Cadet Myra. Step forward." The girl at the far end of the line moved. She was small compared to the others, not more than 19, with dark hair tied tight and sharp eyes that gave nothing away. She walked slowly, her boots striking the floor with a sound that echoed louder than anyone else's had. Myra stopped in front of the commander, standing tall but calm, as if she already knew this moment was coming. The other cadets exchanged quick glances, their faces pale. Something was wrong. This was not part of the usual drills. The commander had never called a single cadet forward like this before. "Stand alone," the commander said. His tone was flat, final. Myra stepped a few paces away from the line, standing under the harsh light that spilled down from the ceiling. Her shadow stretched long across the polished floor. She did not flinch, did not speak, only waited. The commander turned to his soldiers, and without warning, he drew his pistol. The motion was swift, smooth, practiced. He raised the weapon and aimed it directly at Myra's chest. A wave of shock rolled through the hall. Cadets gasped, a few took an involuntary step forward, but no one dared to interfere. They had seen live fire drills before, but never aimed at one of their own. Some thought it was a cruel test of courage. Others thought it was madness. But none of them were ready for what came next. The commander fired. The first shot cracked through the air like lightning. The bullet streaked across the space, aimed directly at Myra's heart. For one terrible second, everyone believed they were about to watch her die. But Myra did not move. She did not duck, she did not scream, she did not even blink. Instead, she raised her hand. Her fingers opened, and in front of the stunned eyes of every cadet, the bullet stopped. It hung there in the air, trembling, spinning, then fell softly into her palm. The hall was frozen in silence. The commander fired again. Another bullet screamed through the air. Myra tilted her head slightly, her lips curling into a small smile. The bullet slowed, stopped, and dropped into her other hand as if the laws of physics had bent themselves to her will. More shots came, faster now, echoing like thunder against the steel walls. Each time, Myra caught them. Sometimes between her fingers, sometimes letting them hover for a breath before plucking them out of the air. Her movements were calm, precise, almost graceful. She did not look afraid. She looked amused. The cadets whispered in disbelief. "Is she human?" one muttered. "How is she doing that?" another asked. Fear crept into their voices, but so did awe. They had trained with Myra for months, but none of them had seen this before. She had always been quiet, disciplined, ordinary. Now she looked like something else entirely, something beyond them. The bullets that should have torn through her body were nothing but toys in her hands. The commander emptied his clip, the final shell clattering onto the ground. The smoke from the barrel curled in the air, mixing with the sharp tang of gunpowder. Myra stood untouched, smiling faintly, her hands full of bullets. She let them fall, one by one, onto the floor. The metallic sound rang out like bells, echoing through the silent hall. Then she straightened, eyes locked on the commander. She did not speak, but her gaze held a challenge, a question, a strange kind of defiance. The cadets stood frozen, unable to breathe. Some looked at the commander, waiting for him to explain, others stared at Myra with wide, fearful eyes. No one understood what had just happened. Was this a trick? Was it technology? Or was she something not human at all? The silence dragged on, heavy and thick, until the commander finally lowered his weapon. His expression did not change, but his eyes burned with something sharp and dangerous. He turned away without a word, walking toward the exit. His boots echoed again, each step louder than the last. The door slammed shut behind him, leaving the cadets and Myra in the heavy silence. Myra stood still for a long time, her smile fading, her face returning to calm emptiness. She bent down, picked up one of the bullets, and slipped it into her pocket. The other cadets did not dare to speak to her. They looked at her as if she had become a stranger, as if the girl they had trained beside was gone, replaced by something unknown. Myra glanced at them once, her eyes unreadable, then turned and walked back to her place in line. Not a word passed between them. But in every cadet's mind, the same question burned. Why had the commander risked killing her? And why was she so calm, so certain, as if none of it had been a surprise? The silence returned to the hall, but it was no longer the same silence. It was heavier now, filled with fear, with suspicion, with the first spark of something far larger than any of them could understand. The night after the test, the base was restless. Cadets whispered in their bunks, voices low and shaken. None of them could sleep. The image of Myra smiling while bullets stopped in the air replayed again and again in their minds. Some were terrified, others fascinated, but all of them knew one thing: what they had seen was not normal. A human being should not be able to do that. Myra sat alone on her bed in the far corner of the barracks. Her hands rested on her knees, calm and steady, though her thoughts were not. She could feel their eyes on her even when they pretended not to look. The air around her was heavy with suspicion. Once she had been just another cadet, quiet and unnoticed. Now she was something else in their minds, something unnatural. She closed her eyes, remembering the moment, the bullets hovering in front of her. She had known they would not touch her. She had always known. But she had never wanted anyone else to see. The door to the barracks slammed open. 2 soldiers in black armor entered, their faces hidden under helmets. They moved with sharp precision. The cadets sat up straight, fear rising in their throats. The taller soldier spoke in a flat, metallic voice. "Cadet Myra. Come with us." Myra did not resist. She stood and walked toward them without a word. Chains of glowing steel were placed on her wrists, humming faintly with energy. The other cadets stared, wide-eyed. No one dared to speak. No one dared to ask why. Myra only glanced back once before she was taken away. Her eyes held no fear, only a strange, quiet understanding, as if this was the path she had always expected. They led her through dark corridors, deeper into the base than most cadets had ever seen. The walls were thicker here, lined with sensors and heavy doors. Myra felt the weight of secrets pressing around her. Finally, they entered a chamber lit by a single overhead lamp. In the center stood the commander. His pistol was gone, but his gaze was just as sharp. "Sit," he ordered. Myra sat today. The soldiers locked her chains to the chair and stepped back. Silence filled the room, broken only by the faint hum of the lights. The commander studied her for a long time before speaking. "You should not exist." His voice was low, heavy. A cadet catching bullets with her hands? That is no human gift. "Tell me what you are." Myra looked at him, her face calm. "I don't know," she said simply. The commander's jaw tightened. "Do not play games. I saw you once before. 15 years ago, on a battlefield where no child should have been. You were smiling then, too. Bullets in the air around you. And you have not aged a day since." His words struck the air like a hammer. Myra's chest tightened. Images stirred in her mind, flashes of fire, soldiers screaming, her small hands rising as bullets froze midair. She had been so young, yet not afraid. She had smiled, just as she smiled today. The memories had been buried deep, locked away, but now they returned. "I don't remember everything," she whispered. "Only pieces. A burning sky. Voices I didn't know. And then, nothing." The commander stepped closer, his shadow stretching over her. "You are not one of us. You are proof of something greater, something dangerous. You are either a weapon made by them, or a signal calling them back." Myra frowned. "Them?" "The invaders," the commander spat. His voice grew darker. "The ones who came before, the ones who left this world in ruins. Millions died in that war. And in the middle of it, there was you, a smiling child who did not bleed." The room fell silent again. Myra's pulse quickened, but she kept her face calm. The words felt heavy, as if the truth was somewhere inside her, waiting to surface. She thought of the ruined laboratory where she had first awakened, her memories blank, her body unscarred. Soldiers had found her wandering alone. She had been brought here, trained like any other cadet, but always knowing she was different. The commander leaned close, his voice a low growl. "You will tell me the truth. Who made you? What are you waiting for?" Myra's eyes narrowed. "What if I don't know? What if I'm just me?" The commander slammed his hand on the table, the sound echoing through the chamber. "No. No human smiles at bullets. No human walks through years without aging. You are not one of us, and you never will be." Myra did not flinch. Instead, she tilted her head slightly, that faint smile returning to her lips. "Maybe you're afraid because you don't understand." The commander froze. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes, fear, anger, maybe even recognition. Then he straightened, his voice cold. "Lock her away. Tomorrow, the council will decide her fate." The soldiers dragged Myra to her feet and led her away. The chains glowed brighter, biting into her skin, but she did not resist. She walked calmly, her eyes forward, as if she had expected this too. Back in the barracks, whispers grew louder. Some cadets called her a monster. Others thought she was the future. None of them knew the truth, but all of them felt it. The world had shifted when Myra caught those bullets. Nothing would ever be the same again. In the darkness of her cell, Myra sat quietly, her back against the cold wall. She closed her eyes and tried to reach into her memory. The commander's words echoed inside her. 15 years ago, you were the same. She pressed her hands together and whispered to herself, almost like a prayer. "Who am I?" Outside the cell, soldiers marched, weapons ready. The commander's voice carried through the halls, sharp and final. "She is not one of us. She is proof. And proof must be judged." Myra opened her eyes. The faint smile returned. Somewhere deep inside her, a truth stirred, waiting to rise. And she knew the commander was right about one thing. She should not exist. Yet she did. And that meant something was coming. Something none of them were ready for. The base slept under a cold sky, but inside the commander's office the lights still burned. The room was filled with old war maps, shelves of files, and weapons polished to perfection. The commander sat at his desk, a single folder open before him. His hands were steady, but his eyes were heavy with memory. The pages showed photos, yellowed and torn, from a battlefield long ago. He stared at one picture in particular. Bodies lay scattered across ruined ground, the earth blackened by fire. And in the corner of the image, small and impossible, stood a little girl. Her dark hair was tangled, her hands were open, and around her floated bullets frozen in the air. Her lips curved into a faint smile. The commander clenched the photo tighter. That child had been Myra. He knew it, though she looked exactly as she did now. Not a day older. Not a scar, not a wrinkle. She had been the same then as she was today. The door opened with a soft creak. Major Harlan, his most trusted officer, stepped in. His face was stern, but his eyes carried unease. "You haven't slept, sir." The commander did not look up. "I cannot sleep when ghosts stand in front of me." He pushed the photo across the desk. "Look. Tell me I'm not losing my mind." Harlan picked it up. His eyes widened. It can't be. That's her." "Yes," the commander said bitterly. 15 years ago. I saw her with my own eyes on that battlefield. She was smiling then, just as she smiled today when I fired at her. She has not changed." Harlan shook his head. "Then what is she? A machine? A clone?" The commander's voice hardened. "She is neither. She is something worse. She is proof." Harlan frowned. "Proof of what?" The commander stood and walked to the window. Outside, the training grounds stretched into darkness. His reflection looked back at him in the glass, older, wearier, scarred by years of war. Proof that the invaders never left. Proof that they planted something here among us. A seed. A signal. And now it walks in our ranks wearing a uniform. Harlan's jaw tightened. "You think she's a weapon?" I know she is, the commander said. His voice dropped, cold and sharp. During the war, when our soldiers fell by the thousands, I saw her standing untouched. I thought she was a ghost, or an illusion. But she was real. She watched as men bled, as worlds burned, and she smiled. Now she's here, inside our walls, acting like one of us. But she is not. She cannot be. Harlan lowered his voice. Then why not kill her? The commander turned, his eyes burning. Because I need to know what she truly is. If she is a signal, then killing her may call the enemy faster. If she is a weapon, we must learn how she works. The council will not understand. They will argue, delay, waste time. But I saw it tonight. She is not afraid of us. She is waiting for something. For a long moment, silence filled the office. Only the ticking of the old clock on the wall broke it. Then Harlan asked, "What will you do?" The commander placed the photo back into the folder and locked it in a steel drawer. His hand lingered there, as if sealing away the memory. "I will force the truth out of her. If she remembers the war, she remembers the invaders. And if she remembers them, she knows when they will return." Meanwhile, far below the surface, Myra sat in her cell. The chains hummed against her wrists, glowing faintly in the dim light. She closed her eyes, her breathing slow, steady. Fragments of memory floated in her mind like broken glass. Fire. Screams. Soldiers pointing rifles at her. Bullets pausing midair, just as they had today. And always, her own face smiling back at her, untouched, unafraid. She whispered to herself, "Why am I still the same? Why do I not change?" The words vanished into the cold air. Footsteps echoed in the corridor. 2 guards passed, speaking in hushed voices. "She caught bullets," one said. "I saw it with my own eyes." "She's no cadet," the other replied. "She's a monster. Or worse, a spy." Myra listened, her lips pressing into a thin line. Monster. Spy. Weapon. Every word they called her was heavy, but none felt true. She did not know who she was. She only knew she had always been different. Back in the commander's office, Harlan spoke again, his voice low. "The cadets are frightened. They don't know what to believe. Some say she's a miracle. Others think she's cursed. If you keep her here, they will turn against each other." The commander's face was stone. "Let them whisper. Fear will sharpen them. They must see her for what she is." "And if she escapes?" Harlan asked. The commander paused. His eyes narrowed. "She won't. But if she tries, then we will know where her loyalties truly lie." He walked back to his desk, opened another drawer, and revealed a small device, black and metallic. Its surface glowed with faint alien markings, symbols no human hand had written. He held it carefully, as though it might burn him. Harlan's eyes widened. "You kept one?" The commander's voice was a whisper now. "A beacon. Taken from the battlefield, hidden from the council. If Myra is what I think she is, this will call her masters. And then, finally, the truth will step into the light." Harlan's breath caught. "Sir, if you use that, you risk everything. The enemy could return." The commander closed his hand around the device. "They are already coming. She is the sign. I will not wait for them to choose the time. I will drag them into the open, and I will end this war before it begins again." In her cell, Myra shivered suddenly, as if some unseen thread had pulled at her. She looked at the chains, then at her hands. For a heartbeat, she thought she felt a signal, faint and far, calling to her from the dark beyond the stars. Her smile flickered, softer this time. And somewhere deep inside the base, the commander stood alone in the glow of the alien beacon, the secret burning in his palm. He had chosen his path. And soon, Myra would have no choice but to reveal hers. The sirens began just before dawn. A sharp, wailing cry cut through the base, shaking every wall, every door. Cadets leapt from their bunks, pulling on boots, grabbing weapons, eyes wide with panic. The sound was not for drills. It was real. Something had broken loose. In the lower levels, Myra opened her eyes. The chains around her wrists glowed, but cracks of light shimmered through them, spreading wider with every heartbeat. She had not meant to break them, But her power moved on its own, responding to a call she did not understand. The chains hummed louder, then snapped apart with a sound like shattering glass. The cell door unlocked with a hiss. For a moment, she stood still, listening to the sirens, then she stepped out into the hallway. Guards rushed toward her. Their rifles rose. "Stop," one shouted. Bullets fired, bright sparks in the dim corridor. Myra lifted her hands. The shots froze midair, hanging like beads of metal rain. She walked forward, calm, the bullets drifting aside as if carried by wind. The guards stumbled back, fear in their eyes. She did not strike them. She only kept moving, her footsteps steady and quiet against the floor. Above, the commander strode through the command center, his face carved from stone. Officers scrambled, calling out positions and updates, but he spoke only one command. "Seal the gates. She must not leave this base alive." His voice was calm, but inside him burned a storm. The beacon pulsed in his pocket, glowing faintly, as though it already knew what was coming. Myra moved through the corridors like water through cracks, slipping past soldiers, bending doors open with a wave of her hand. Drones buzzed down the hall, weapons flashing. She stretched her palm, and the machines froze in place, their engines whining helplessly before dropping to the ground. The cadets who saw her from the shadows whispered in disbelief. Some muttered prayers. Others only stared, too frightened to move. Outside, the searchlights blazed on, cutting through the misty dawn. The commander's voice roared over the speakers. "Cadet Myra has escaped. She is not one of us. Shoot on sight." The words echoed across the base, heavy as iron. To the cadets, it was both an order and a curse. Some gripped their rifles tighter, ready to obey. Others hesitated, doubt in their eyes. Myra had been one of them, trained beside them, laughed with them. But now they were told she was something else, something dangerous. Myra burst through the final corridor and into the open air. The sky was pale with morning light, the wind sharp against her face. Soldiers formed lines, rifles raised, their boots stamping the ground in unison. The commander himself stepped forward, pistol in hand, his eyes locked on her. "Myra," he called, his voice steady. "Stop running. If you leave this place, you doom us all." Myra looked at him, her expression calm but questioning. "Why do you fear me so much? What am I to you?" "You are a signal," the commander said coldly. "A living beacon calling the enemy back to us. You are not our cadet. You are their creation." Myra shook her head slowly. "I don't know who I am. But I know this, I am not your enemy." The commander raised his gun. Soldiers followed, rifles clicking into readiness. The air was thick with tension, every heart beating fast, every finger tight on the trigger. Myra stood still, her hands open at her sides, her eyes shining with strange calm. Then the order came. Fire. Gunfire erupted, thunder rolling across the field. Myra lifted her hands, and the bullets froze once more. Dozens of them hung in the air, shimmering like deadly stars. The soldiers stared, their faces pale with terror. Myra lowered her hands, and the bullets dropped harmlessly into the dirt. "I will not fight you," she said, her voice steady but filled with sadness. "I will not hurt you." And with that, she turned and ran into the wilderness beyond the walls. The commander roared for pursuit. Armored vehicles rolled out, engines growling. Drones lifted into the sky, their red eyes glowing. Cadets and soldiers poured through the gates, chasing her into the forests and hills. The hunt had begun. Myra ran swiftly, her breath calm, her body light as if the earth itself carried her. Trees blurred around her, branches snapping under her speed. Behind her, the rumble of machines shook the ground, the shouts of soldiers filled the air. She did not look back. She only moved forward, her heart pulling her toward something unseen. High above, hidden among the clouds, something stirred. A shadow. A ship not of this world. Its hull was vast and dark, its lights faint but pulsing. It drifted silently, watching, waiting. Back at the base, the commander stood on the wall, eyes fixed on the horizon. He pulled the beacon from his pocket. It pulsed brighter now, responding to something beyond the sky. His lips pressed into a thin line. "Come, then," he whispered to the clouds. Come and take what is yours. And we will end this, one way or another. In the forest, Myra felt it too. A strange hum deep inside her chest, like a voice calling from the stars. She slowed for a moment, hand over her heart, eyes lifting to the sky. The faint smile touched her lips again. She did not know why she smiled. Perhaps it was hope. Perhaps it was fear. Perhaps it was both. The soldiers closed in behind her, their voices echoing, their weapons ready. But Myra did not stop. She ran deeper into the unknown, the hunt chasing her steps, the sky above holding secrets waiting to fall. And far above, the silent ship moved closer. The first sighting came at dawn. A farmer in the valley looked up from his fields and froze. A shadow passed across the sky, blotting out the rising sun. It was not a cloud, nor a storm. It was something vast, metallic, and silent. The ground trembled faintly as the farmer dropped his tools and ran. By the time he reached the village, the ship had already grown larger, descending slowly from the clouds like a predator coming to land. At the base, alarms screamed again. Officers scrambled to their stations. The sky above the command center lit with warning symbols. The commander stood at the window, his jaw set. He had known this moment would come, but even he had not imagined how massive the ship would be. Its hull stretched across the horizon, a floating city of alien steel. They answered, he muttered under his breath. The beacon worked. Major Harlan rushed to his side. Sir, should we engage? The commander shook his head slowly. Not yet. Wait. His eyes narrowed. They did not come for us. They came for her. In the forests, Myra felt it before she saw it. The hum inside her chest grew louder, sharper, almost painful. She stopped running and looked to the sky. Through the treetops, she saw it, the ship, descending like a black mountain from the heavens. She pressed her hand to her chest, her breath unsteady. The call inside her was undeniable. The ship was speaking to her. Soldiers crashed through the trees behind her. There, one shouted. Rifles rose, drones circled overhead. Myra did not move. She only watched the sky as the ship's shadow fell across the forest. Then a beam of pale light shot down from the vessel, striking the ground a few paces in front of her. The earth glowed, and from the light emerged figures, tall, slender, armored in silver. Their faces were hidden behind smooth masks, their movements graceful but unnatural. They stood in silence, their heads tilted toward Myra. The soldiers froze. None of them had ever seen the enemy this close. Fear gripped their hearts. The commander's warnings echoed in their minds, the invaders never left. One of the silver figures stepped forward. Its voice was strange, layered, echoing, but the words were clear. Daughter of the Accord. You have answered. At last. Myra's lips parted. The words stirred something deep inside her, something old. Daughter of the Accord, she whispered. The alien bowed its head slightly. You were made to bridge two worlds. To end the war. You were born of us, and of them. You are ours. The soldiers raised their rifles, fear snapping into rage. She's human, one shouted. Leave her. The alien's mask turned toward them. Its voice sharpened. She is more than human. She belongs to both. And she will choose. Myra's heart pounded. Memories pressed at the edges of her mind, shattered images of laboratories, voices speaking in two tongues, hands reaching for her, promises whispered as she slept. She had been made, not born. She was the Accord, the bridge. Her chest tightened as she looked between the soldiers she had trained beside and the beings who called her their daughter. The commander's voice roared through the soldiers' comms. Do not let them take her. She is the key to our survival or our destruction. Hold your ground. Gunfire exploded. Bullets streaked toward the silver figures, but they did not fall. A shield of light shimmered around them, the shots bouncing harmlessly away. The aliens did not attack in return. They only stood, waiting, watching Myra. Myra raised her hands. Stop. Her voice carried through the forest, stronger than she knew. The bullets froze midair, every single one, hanging like a storm of iron caught in time. The soldiers gasped, lowering their rifles in shock. Myra turned to them, her voice trembling but clear. I don't want to fight. Not for them. Not for you. I just want to know the truth. The alien leader extended a hand. Come with us. We will show you. Myra hesitated. Her eyes swept the faces of the soldiers, young men and women she had trained with, laughed with, lived beside. They looked at her now with fear, some with hate, a few with desperate hope. Then she looked at the aliens, who stood still, patient, certain she would join them. The commander's voice cut through the comms again, sharp and commanding. Myra, listen to me. If you go with them, you doom us all. They will use you to end what we rebuilt. You cannot trust them. Her chest ached. Two worlds pulled at her. Two truths pressed against her heart. She was human. She was alien. She was both and yet neither. The alien hand remained outstretched. The soldiers' rifles trembled in their grip. The commander's voice demanded an answer. And Myra, she smiled faintly, not out of joy, but out of knowing that her choice would change everything. The alien ship above pulsed with light, waiting. The forest held its breath. Even the bullets hung frozen in the air, as though time itself was waiting for her decision. The forest was silent, caught between two worlds. Soldiers stood with rifles shaking in their hands. Aliens stood calm, their silver armor glowing faintly in the morning light. And Myra stood between them all, her heart pounding like a drum inside her chest. The alien leader's hand was still outstretched. Daughter of the Accord. Choose. Come with us. The commander's voice cut through the soldiers' comms, hard as steel. Myra, if you step into their light, you betray us all. Don't forget you trained here. You lived here. You are one of us. Myra's eyes shifted between the two sides. Her memories tangled, long nights studying with the cadets, the weight of rifles in her hands, laughter shared in the mess hall. But just as sharp were the flashes of another life, fragments buried deep, strange voices speaking her name, machines pulsing with alien light, promises whispered in a tongue she had never learned yet somehow understood. She whispered, almost to herself, I am both. The alien leader tilted its head. Yes. You are the bridge. You were made for peace. The commander's reply came like a blade. No. You are a weapon. And weapons destroy. The tension snapped when the commander himself appeared at the edge of the forest, striding forward, pistol in hand. His soldiers stepped aside as he pushed through, his face set like stone. His eyes never left Myra. He raised the gun. The barrel aimed straight at her heart. Myra, he said, his voice low but steady. This ends now. If you belong to them, then you cannot live among us. If you belong to us, then prove it. Stop me. Gasps rippled through the soldiers. The aliens did not move. All eyes locked on Myra. The commander pulled the trigger. The shot echoed like thunder. The bullet tore through the air, straight toward her chest. But Myra did not raise her hand. She did not stop it like before. She stood still, calm, her faint smile returning. The bullet slowed on its own, trembling in front of her heart, a breath away from piercing her skin. It floated there, spinning in place. Myra reached up and touched it gently. The metal bent under her fingers, unfolding, stretching into threads of light. The bullet dissolved into brightness, until nothing remained but a spark that faded into the air. She looked at the commander, her voice soft but strong. I am not your enemy. I am not their weapon. I am more. The commander's hand shook on the pistol. For the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes. Around him, soldiers whispered, unsure whether to fear or to hope. The aliens watched silently, as if waiting for her next move. Myra spread her arms wide. The bullets still frozen in the air around them, hundreds of them, glowed, then melted into light. The forest shimmered, the ground itself humming with her power. Drones fell harmlessly from the sky. Rifles clicked and jammed, their magazines emptying into nothingness. The alien ship above trembled with energy, but Myra lifted her gaze and raised a single hand. The ship froze. Its weapons powered down, its engines silenced. The massive vessel hung motionless, as if bound by invisible chains. Gasps filled the air. Both soldiers and aliens stepped back, staring. Myra's voice carried over them all. You want me to choose one side. But I will not. I am both. I am human and I am more. I will not fight for war. I will fight for peace. The alien leader bowed its head slowly. Then you are beyond us. With those words, the silver figures stepped back into the beam of light and vanished. The ship above shuddered once, then pulled away, retreating into the clouds until it was gone. The silence that followed was crushing. Soldiers lowered their rifles, their faces pale with awe. The commander stood still, pistol loose in his grip. His eyes never left Myra, but his voice was quieter now, almost broken. Then what are you? Myra looked at him, her faint smile still there, but softer, sadder. I am the proof that fear is not the answer. I am what comes after war. She turned away, walking slowly into the forest. No one moved to stop her. The soldiers only watched as she disappeared between the trees, her figure fading into the morning light. The commander lowered his pistol at last. His voice barely carried, more to himself than anyone else. Is she our savior, or the reason we fall? No one answered. The forest swallowed her, and with her went the question that would haunt them all. Myra walked on, her step steady, her heart calm. She did not know what the future would bring. She did not know if the humans would ever trust her, or if the aliens would return to claim her. But she knew this: she would keep walking, smiling at the bullets the world threw at her, choosing her own path, even if she walked it alone. The sun broke through the trees, golden light spilling across her face. She raised her head and smiled once more. And somewhere far above, beyond the clouds, unseen eyes watched her with both fear and wonder, waiting to see what she would become. Weeks passed after Myra vanished into the forest. The base returned to uneasy silence. Soldiers repaired the defenses, but their eyes often drifted to the sky, half expecting the silver ships to return. The commander gave no speeches, no orders of comfort. He spent most of his time staring at the horizon, his pistol always close at hand. Myra's name spread like fire. Some whispered she was a savior, proof humanity was destined for something greater. Others spat her name as a curse, a traitor born of the enemy's design. No one agreed on who she truly was, only that she had changed everything. But Myra herself walked far from the base, deeper into mountains few dared to enter. She felt the hum inside her chest growing softer now, quieter, as though waiting. For the first time, she felt almost free. She no longer carried rifles, no longer stood in ranks, no longer answered to anyone. She hunted for food, drank from rivers, slept beneath stars. Yet even in that quiet, her dreams burned. Night after night, she saw visions: stars collapsing, worlds burning, voices crying her name in tongues both human and alien. She saw the accord, not as peace, but as a chain. She woke each morning with her fists clenched, the forest trembling faintly around her. One night, she climbed to a ridge and looked at the sky. She whispered to the stars, "What am I becoming?" The answer came not from the stars but from the shadows behind her. A figure stepped forward, wrapped in a black cloak, face hidden beneath a hood. Myra spun, her hand rising, but the figure lifted a single palm, and the air around them froze. For the first time, Myra felt resistance. The power she commanded met another force equal, unyielding. Her breath caught. The hooded figure's voice was calm, deep, almost kind. "You feel it, don't you? The truth pressing inside you. The accord was only the beginning. You were made for something far greater." Myra's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" The figure lowered the hood. A human face, older, lined with years of battles, stared at her. His eyes glowed faintly, just like hers. "I am what you will become," he said. "The first Accord child. They called me lost. But I endured." Shock struck her like a blade. Another like her. Another bridge between worlds. She had thought she was alone. The man stepped closer. "You stopped a war. That is nothing. Wars are endless. But there is a shadow beyond both human and alien, a force older, waiting in the dark between galaxies. That is why we were made. That is why you exist." Myra shook her head, stepping back. "No. I choose peace. I will not be a weapon." The man's faint smile was almost sad. "Peace will die. And when it does, you will either fight the shadow, or join it." There is no other path. Lightning split the sky above them. Myra felt the hum inside her chest flare painfully, as though the universe itself reacted to his words. She clutched her chest, struggling to breathe. The man did not move. He only watched her, his eyes glowing brighter. "Find me when the stars fall," he said. "Or you will fall with them." Then the ground cracked beneath him, light swallowing his figure. He vanished, leaving Myra alone on the ridge, the night wind cold against her skin. She sank to her knees, staring at the stars. The commander's words echoed in her mind, "You are a weapon." The alien leader's voice followed, "You were made for peace." And now this stranger's warning carved itself into her soul, "You were made to face the shadow beyond." Myra pressed her hands to the earth, trembling. "What am I?" she whispered. The forest did not answer. The stars did not answer. But far beyond them, in the dark stretch of space, something stirred. Something vast. Something watching. And as Myra lifted her head, her faint smile returned, not of joy, but of defiance. She whispered to the stars, "Then let it come."